Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie, and thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Spring is upon us. I just planted some petunias and hibiscus. Before too long, I'll put the tomato plants in the ground. The swans are nesting, and I even cleaned all the yellow pollen off of my outdoor furniture. However, spring is also the season of Palm Sunday, Good Friday, and Easter, also referenced as Resurrection Sunday. Today I'm going to look at Palm Sunday, and next week we'll be looking at Easter. I will also upload a video of just reading the scripture about Good Friday, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Many of us are familiar with the events of Palm Sunday, as narrated in the Bible. At the end of this, I will read a passage from Matthew in the New Testament about Palm Sunday. In the ancient world, there was great symbolism attached to palm fronds. In ancient Greece, palm fronds were associated with the goddess of victory, Nike, and this is from Salisbury Greenhouse. Palms also played an important role in both ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, representing immortality in their religions. In the Old Testament of the Bible, there are many references to palm trees and fronds, and in fact, there were carvings of palms that were placed in the temple. Deborah, one of the judges of the Old Testament, sat under a palm tree to listen and speak to people, and this is found in Judges 4 and 5. Palm branches or fronds also represented triumph and peace, according to Wikipedia. Ancient Romans carried the palm fronds in their victory triumphs. Additionally, palms represented life as they provided sustenance and building materials in desert lands. The practice of throwing cloaks on the ground in front of a person was also hugely symbolic. The throwing or placing of cloaks before a person represented an acknowledgement of that person's authority and position. Therefore, the people in Jerusalem knew of the importance, significance, and symbolism of palm branches and cloaks. And when they heard that Jesus, whom many knew as a teacher, prophet, and healer, was entering Jerusalem, people decided to go see him and to honor him as they prepared for Passover. Others knew him also as the Son of God, and they too went to honor him. There was no doubt about the choosing of palm branches with which to honor him. It was not a coincidence or accident that those who went to see and honor him chose the palm branches. With the bringing of the fronds, the waving of the fronds, the laying of the cloaks before him, and the shouts of Hosanna as Jesus rode past them on a donkey, they were symbolizing triumph, immortality, victory, and peace. And to be clear, those who were growing increasingly concerned about Jesus and his popularity, including Caiaphas the high priest, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and other leaders, also knew what the palms and cloaks represented as they were placed before Jesus as he was entering Jerusalem. The populace placed their expectations and hopes upon Jesus. They wanted their nation to be independent again. They wanted their culture to rise again. They wanted the Romans gone from their lands. And many expected Jesus to do this. Throughout the Old Testament, the coming Messiah was prophesied and promised, but many did not fully understand the meanings of the prophecies and therefore expected Jesus to lead a revolt or revolution against the Romans. So they honored him. They put all their expectations upon him. And when he did not do what they wanted him to do, they turned against him. I will post the reading about Good Friday later this week, in which we see the almost immediate change in perspective about Jesus from the populace, while the sacrifice of his life fulfilled God's will. And so Palm Sunday, in which Jesus is hailed victorious by a population that did not really understand his role, to be shortly followed by that same populace turning on him. Yet there were those who believed in him and in what he said and what he prophesied about his own life and return. Matthew 21, 1 through 11. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there, with her colt by her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, tell him that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. "Say to the daughter of Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt, placed their cloaks on them, and Jesus sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" The crowds answered, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." I hope this next week will bring many blessings and joy to you as we enter the season of spring, the season of hope, and the season of Jesus' triumphal entry, crucifixion, and resurrection. Again, thank you so much for spending some time with me.